Welcome, dear brave soul. You're tuning into Horror Podcast, and I'm truly grateful you're here. Whether you're a long-time listener or just stumbled upon this channel, thank you for joining me for another scary tale. If you enjoy these stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means more than you know. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, what brought you here, or even what kind of story you'd like to hear next. Your support keeps this channel going, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's get into today's horror story. I didn't expect something so simple to leave such a weird stain on my mind. It started with a Craigslist post for a kitten. My boyfriend and I had been talking about getting a second cat for weeks. Our first, a scrappy little gray tabby named Binks, had too much energy for just the two of us to keep up with. He'd race up and down the hall at 3 a.m, tackle our feet during breakfast, and scream at the birds through the living room window like he was planning a heist. We loved him, but he clearly needed a friend. Someone his size who could match his energy. So I took it on myself to start looking. We couldn't really afford a $200 adoption fee at the moment, so I turned to Craigslist. I know Craigslist has a rep for being sketchy, but I figured, how bad could it be if we were just picking up a kitten? My name's Kara, by the way. I'm 26 and live just outside Knoxville in a town where everything closes by 8 p.m. I work part-time at a used bookstore and freelance design on the side. My boyfriend Alex bartends a few nights a week at a downtown pub. We're not impulsive people, not the type to do wild, risky stuff. I don't jump into things without at least Googling them first. I say that not to defend myself, but because even now, I catch myself wondering how I let this whole thing slide under my radar. The post was short and sweet. 8-week-old orange tabby kitten, free to good home. Must pick up, rehoming due to allergies. There was only one photo, a slightly blurry shot of an orange kitten curled up on a pink bath mat. No visible cage, no litter box, no food bowl. Just the kitten. It had big eyes and looked underweight, and something about the way it was curled made me feel this sudden need to help. I messaged the contact, a woman who called herself Mara, around 10:45 p.m. I figured she'd see it in the morning. To my surprise, she texted back within 5 minutes. Hi. Yes, still available. We'd love to find him a home tomorrow if possible. She seemed nice. Warm tone, lots of emojis. We texted back and forth for a bit, and she asked some questions about our home setup. I told her about Binks, how we had a little sunroom where the cats could chill, and how I worked from home, so I'd be around most days. She asked where we lived and if I could send photos or a video just so she felt comfortable about where the kitten would go. I didn't really think about it. It felt like the kind of thing a careful pet owner might ask. So I sent a short video of our apartment. Just a pan of the living room, Binks wrestling with a sock, and our little cat tower in the corner. Mara responded almost immediately with a heart emoji and said she was glad it looked like a nice home. Then she insisted we pick up the kitten from her place. It's just easier, she said. I don't drive and don't want to stress the kitten. Fair enough. She gave me an address in a town I'd never heard of, Auburndale, about 2 hours southeast. I checked the street on Google Maps. It looked real. A little cul-de-sac with some older ranch homes and wide front lawns. Nothing stood out as alarming. Alex offered to come with me, even though he had a long shift ahead of him. Craigslist is weird, he said, and I don't like you driving out there alone. I almost brushed him off. I'd done solo drives before, and it felt like overkill. But something in his tone made me pause. So I told Mara that we'd be coming by around 5:30 the next evening and confirmed the address again. The drive was long and boring. Flat roads, a few rundown gas stations, and a lot of dead zones where the signal kept cutting out. I kept trying to make conversation, but something about the silence outside made it feel like we were moving through a place that didn't want to be visited. We got there right on time, 5:29 on the dot. The house was set back a little from the road, partially hidden by overgrown hedges. It looked fine, a bit run down. The paint was faded and chipping, and the porch light was missing a bulb. There was a silver Toyota in the driveway, and a stack of unopened mail wedged into the screen door. I pulled up and parked behind the car, texting Mara. "Hey, we're here." No response. I waited 2 minutes, then 5. Then I called. Straight to voicemail. I glanced at Alex, who was scrolling through his phone and frowning. "She just confirmed an hour ago," I said. "Try again." I did. This time it rang once, then cut off. I called again, and again. Still nothing. "Maybe she's not home," I said, though I didn't really believe it. "She literally told you to come pick it up at this time. This is weird." I agreed, but I also didn't want to jump to conclusions. People forget things. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she fell asleep. But that uneasy feeling in my chest kept growing. I stared at the house, trying to catch a glimpse of movement behind the curtains. Nothing. 10 more minutes passed. The sun was low now, casting a yellow haze over the cul-de-sac. It was quiet. Too quiet. No dogs barking, no lawnmowers, no TV sounds from inside. Just the soft creak of the wind moving through the trees. "I'll go knock," I said. Alex didn't love that idea, but he didn't stop me. I got out, walked to the porch, and knocked 3 times. The door sounded hollow. I tried the bell, nothing. I peered through the front window, but the curtains were heavy and drawn shut. I waited a minute, then knocked again. Still nothing. When I turned back, I noticed someone walking across the street, a woman with salt and pepper hair wearing a floral robe. She was heading toward her mailbox, but looked over at me, curious. I gave a polite wave. "Hi. Sorry to bother you. I'm just here to pick up a kitten. I found a listing on Craigslist, and they gave me this address." She squinted. "A kitten?" "Yeah." The woman said she was rehoming it because of allergies. She looked at the house and frowned. "They don't have cats. I know the people there. Helped them move last weekend. Not a litter box in sight." Oh, I felt my stomach twist. Well, the ad said they couldn't bring the kittens to their new place because pets weren't allowed. She raised an eyebrow. "That's odd. I've got 2 dogs, and the family next door has a parrot and a cat. Pets are fine here." I tried to smile, but my skin was prickling. "Right. Maybe there was a misunderstanding." "Maybe," she said slowly. "They're odd people. Keep to themselves." I nodded, thanked her, and walked back to the car. I didn't even have to explain anything. Alex had seen the whole thing. "We're leaving," he said before I even got in. We pulled out of the cul-de-sac and started back toward the highway. As soon as we rounded the corner, literally as soon as the house was out of sight, my phone buzzed. "Hey, just saw your messages." My phone must have been acting up. "Did you still want the kitten?" My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen for a full 10 seconds before showing it to Alex. "Nope," he said. "Block it." I didn't reply. I didn't even type out a message. I just blocked the number and turned my phone on airplane mode for the rest of the drive. Neither of us talked much on the way back. The highway was dark, the towns we passed felt hollow, and I kept glancing in the rearview mirror like something might be following. It's been a few weeks now. I still think about it sometimes, especially late at night when the house is quiet. I keep asking myself, what did they want? It wasn't money. I never sent a deposit. I never gave any payment details. So what was the plan? To lure someone out? For what? I think about how I almost went alone. If Alex hadn't pushed to come, I would have driven out there solo, knocked on that door, stood on that porch for who knows how long. What would have happened if I'd tried the side gate? Walked around back? What if I had gone in? What if I had actually met Mara? I don't think I'll ever know the full story. And maybe that's what bothers me the most, that hollow, lingering feeling of something unresolved. Like a page was ripped out of a book I didn't finish. Now, when I scroll Craigslist, I look at every listing with a little more suspicion. I think twice before clicking. I think about how quickly things can turn. How something that seems warm and easy can tilt, just a little, and lead you somewhere you're not supposed to be. We didn't get the kitten, but we got something else. A gut check. A reminder. And honestly, That's enough. I always thought of Craigslist as a kind of digital graveyard. Stuff people don't want anymore. Odd jobs that pay under the table. Strangers trading random junk and crossing fingers they don't get scammed. Late night scrolling became my weird little ritual, a half-joking, half-sad way to kill time when I couldn't sleep, which was often. I'm Lucas, by the way. I'm 30, live alone in a basement apartment in Milwaukee, and tend to drink more than I should. It's not like I have a wild nightlife or some tragic origin story. I just work long hours at a logistics warehouse and usually don't have the energy for anything else. So when the whiskey hits just right, I dive into Craigslist. Not to buy or sell anything. I mostly mess around in the lost and found section. People post some wild things on there. One time someone lost a toaster. Another time it was a full wedding dress. But nothing stood out like that one post. Missing brother. Cash reward if found. I know you're reading this. Come home. No picture. No phone number. Just the ad, vague and unsettling, like a message buried under years of clutter and waiting for the right pair of eyes to find it. It was 2 a.m. and I was 3 bourbons in, maybe 4. I'd been watching old reruns of Forensic Files, the kind of background noise that keeps the silence from pressing in too close. I remember squinting at the screen, smirking, then typing up a dumb reply. Hey, it's me, your brother. Found myself in a dive bar again. How's mom? I sent it and laughed at myself, kicked my feet up on the couch, and poured another drink. I thought maybe I'd get a weird reply in the morning. Some dude with a broken heart looking for closure. Worst case, no reply at all. But the response came 2 minutes later. I knew you'd come back. That sobered me up a little. Not enough to stop drinking, but enough to sit up and reread it. You're nearby. I can feel it. Okay, weird. I stared at my laptop, blinking slow and heavy. The name on the email was just R, same as the post. I replied with another joke, something like can't wait for Thanksgiving dinner, and laughed again, a little nervously this time. Then I blacked out. When I woke up, I was still on the couch, jeans digging into my waist, and my laptop lying half open on my stomach. The TV had switched to some daytime cooking show. I groaned, shuffled to the bathroom, then back to the kitchen, where I chugged a glass of water and grabbed a cold slice of pizza from the fridge. I almost forgot about the Craigslist thing until I opened my inbox. 43 new emails, all from R. They started short, one-liners, like, where are you? Come home. I've been waiting. But the later ones, toward the end, they got longer. More frantic. You were supposed to be here. I made dinner. I set the table. What more do I have to do? I didn't remember giving my full name in the original message, but my email had it. And now this guy was sending me messages every couple of minutes. I didn't respond. I deleted the entire thread, marked it as spam, and figured that would be the end of it. It wasn't. That same afternoon, I stopped by my regular gas station. I was walking out with a coffee and a pack of gum when I noticed a guy standing near the ice machine. Just standing there, watching me. He was tall, gaunt, wearing a hoodie with the strings pulled tight. Something about him made my stomach twist, like a déjà vu I couldn't quite place. I turned away quickly, climbed in my car, and locked the doors. When I glanced back in the rearview, he was gone. I told myself I was just being paranoid. But later that evening, I noticed something even stranger. There was a new post on Craigslist. Same format. Same lost and found section. Missing brother. You were at the Sitco on East 9th. I saw you. R. Now, maybe someone else could have seen me at that gas station. But the timestamp matched exactly when I was there. And no one, absolutely no one, had reason to track me like that. Unless they'd been following me. I slammed my laptop shut and paced the apartment. I considered calling someone, my cousin Andy maybe. But what was I going to say? Hey, remember when I joked about being someone's long-lost Craigslist brother? Turns out he might actually be stalking me. I could practically hear the silence on the other end of the call. Instead, I did something stupid. I posted my own ad. Not your brother. Stop watching me. Stop following me. This isn't funny anymore. I didn't get a response that night, or the next. For a while, I thought that maybe that was enough. That calling him out would spook him. Maybe he'd move on to someone else. Maybe the guy was just unwell. Then came the package. It showed up at my door 3 days later. No return address. Just my name written in thick black marker on a manila envelope. Inside were 2 things, a photo, and I still don't know how he got it, of me walking home from work 2 days earlier. I'm mid-step, head down, earbuds in. The timestamp was scrawled on the back in red pen. And a note. I'm not mad, just disappointed. You're wasting your second chance. That night, I barely slept. Every noise outside my window made me jump. Every creak of the old floorboards sounded like footsteps. I sat up in bed with a baseball bat across my lap, waiting for the door to rattle or the window to shatter. Nothing happened. Days passed. I started skipping Craigslist entirely. Changed my email. Used a different name. Deleted my Facebook and locked down my LinkedIn. Paranoia became a full-time job. Then 1 week later, the emails started again. Same guy. Same tone. You don't look well. I wish you'd take better care of yourself. You always did get sick when you were nervous. I didn't respond. Not once. I couldn't even bring myself to delete them this time. I just let them stack up, unread and glowing on my screen like tiny little bombs. The last one came in on a Sunday afternoon. I'll see you tonight. That night, I stayed at my coworker's place. Didn't tell him why. I just said my heat went out or something. I couldn't explain it without sounding crazy. I barely slept. The next morning, I came home to find my front door locked, my windows unbroken. Nothing stolen, nothing touched, except for one thing. My bathroom mirror had been wiped clean, except for one word written in the fog across the top, reflection. I moved out a week later, deleted every Craigslist bookmark, started using a VPN, changed jobs, changed cities, but I still don't feel safe. I keep expecting him to find me again, to see another ad, short, casual, terrifying. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd played along. If I'd agreed to meet, would he have hurt me? Tried to become me? Or would I have looked into his eyes and seen something even worse? Something familiar? I still check Lost and Found sometimes, when I'm feeling bold. I scroll with shaking hands, afraid of what I might find. And every time I see the word missing, I close the tab. A couple years ago, I had to make some fast decisions about where my life was heading. I'd just finished my bachelor's and was planning to work at a local art space back home. Small town on the Oregon coast, tucked between foggy hills and too many antique stores. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I'd been told I had a spot lined up, help managing a bar/gallery that was about to open. Everything felt on track. Then I called the owner one afternoon while I was visiting my older sister in Portland, just to confirm my start date. And just like that, it was gone. Apparently his new business partner thought I lacked experience. Never mind the fact they told me to come back after graduation. I was 22, just got my degree, and suddenly had no job, no direction, and nothing but time. My sister, Kendra, said I could stay with her while I figured things out. Give it a shot here, she said. Bigger city, better opportunities. So I did. I applied to a few places, got a barista job at a busy little coffee shop off Belmont, and after a few weeks started feeling like maybe I could make something work. That's when I started looking for a place to live. Her apartment was small, tight enough that I knew I'd need to find something soon. My name's Brooke, by the way. I didn't have a huge budget, so Craigslist became the go-to. I scrolled through one-bedroom listings, shared spaces, basement studios, anything under $800. It was a weird, exhausting rabbit hole. Some people were friendly, but lived too far away. Others hid fees or dropped red flags mid-conversation, like, "Oh, also I do taxidermy in the garage. Hope that's not a problem." But then I found one that seemed almost too good. The listing said, "Room for rent, private bath, washer/dryer, shared kitchen, LGBTQ plus friendly. $600 per month. Close to downtown. No pictures. That gave me pause. But the description hit all the right notes. Smoking okay, pets okay, decent-sized yard. It sounded homey, like maybe an older homeowner looking for a quiet tenant. The poster signed off as Rick and included a phone number. I called and got voicemail, so I left a quick message. 10 minutes later, he called me back. His voice was soft, slow-paced. "Hey, you're broke?" he asked. "Yeah, sorry, I don't always check this thing fast." Been getting a lot of responses. We talked for a few minutes. He mentioned he had a cat and said he was fine with me bringing one too, or even getting a kitten later on. He lived alone in a 2-bedroom duplex, said he mostly kept to himself. Then, like he'd been holding it in, he said quickly, "I should mention, I'm transgender. Male to female. Still transitioning. Hope that's not an issue." He sounded nervous, like he expected me to hang up, but I didn't even blink. "Not at all. I'm queer myself," I said, laughing a little. "That's not an issue for me." Instead of relaxing, he seemed to get more awkward. Thanked me a few times, stumbled over his words, and we agreed to meet the next night. When I pulled up with my brother-in-law, just for safety, I was surprised. I'd imagined an older house, maybe tucked into one of those tree-lined streets near Hawthorne. Instead, it was a gray brick apartment complex just off the highway. Loud traffic, flickering porch light, peeling paint on the stairs. Definitely not what I'd pictured. We walked up together and knocked. A few seconds later, Rick opened the door. He wasn't what I expected either. Mid-50s maybe, but rough around the edges. Greasy flannel shirt, cargo pants, wild hair like he hadn't brushed it in a week. I remembered thinking, not unkindly, that if he hadn't told me he was trans, I probably wouldn't have guessed. He looked at my brother-in-law, frowning slightly. "You are not alone." I smiled quickly. "Yeah, this is Matt. He's just giving me a ride." Rick hesitated, then opened the door wider and stepped back. "Okay, come in." As soon as we stepped inside, my chest tightened. The place was a mess. Not just a little cluttered. I'm talking towers of magazines on the couch, books stacked in the hallway, mail scattered across the floor. Dishes piled in the sink, counters sticky with something I didn't want to identify. The air was stale, like something what had been sitting there too long. I tried to keep a polite face, but my brother-in-law caught my eye, raised his brows. We both felt it. Rick pointed around the living room, as if it was some grand tour. "TV works. Cables included. You can smoke inside if that's your thing." I nodded, said something vague like, "That's good to know," and followed him as he led us toward the hallway. The bathroom, which he'd said was private, had no lock. It also had a leaky faucet, mold creeping into the corners of the tub, and a stack of used towels on the floor. Not great. Finally, he showed me the bedroom. It was worse. The room was packed with stuff. Leather jackets hanging from a giant rack that cut the space in half. Heaps of women's dresses overflowing from the closet. Mismatched shoes tossed in bins. I asked carefully, "Would this all be moved out?" Rick shook his head. "Not really. I haven't tried most of them on yet. I keep saying I'll get to it, but..." He trailed off, then added, "You could be a doll and let me keep the jackets here, or I'll find a storage unit. If I must." I forced a smile. "Let's come back to that." We ended up back in the living room. Matt stepped outside to take a call, and for the first time, I was alone with Rick. I tried to keep the conversation light. Asked about the utilities, the neighbors. He didn't seem all that interested in answering. Eventually, I asked, "So have you had other roommates?" That's when his tone shifted. He leaned back, scratched his beard, and said, "Yeah, 3. All women. First one was trouble. Used to walk around half naked, always flirting when her boyfriend wasn't around. She left in the middle of the night." I nodded slowly. The second one was a drunk. She'd pass out in my bed and then accuse me of touching her. Total drama. She also disappeared overnight. I didn't say anything, just listened. The last one was paranoid. Put a lock on her door, like she didn't trust me or something. She moved out without notice too. He chuckled like it was all just a big misunderstanding. But I wasn't laughing. Then he looked at me, his expression almost expectant. "You seem a lot more normal." Before I could reply, Matt came back in. Rick stood up quickly, moved toward me, and gave me a sudden hug. His hands landed on my hips, firm, lingering wrong. "I hope you come home soon," he said into my ear. It took everything in me not to recoil, but I smiled, pulled back, and whispered quietly, so only he could hear. "If you ever touch me again or reach out, I swear to God I will flatten you." Then louder, "Thanks for the tour, Rick." The look on his face was priceless, like someone had just thrown cold water on him. Mouth open, eyes wide. I walked out and didn't look back. I never got another message from him. Never saw a follow-up post. It's like he disappeared. Part of me wanted to report the ad, but what would I even say? He hadn't done anything illegal, just enough to make your skin crawl. Sometimes I wonder if some younger girl moved in, someone desperate enough to overlook the warning signs. I think about that more than I'd like to admit. And now I never go alone to viewings. I don't go after dark. And I sure as hell don't assume a friendly voice means anything. People show you who they are. If you're paying attention, they always do.